Hi, I'm Dr. Chuck Betters. I want to read a passage from 1 John chapter 3. And I want you to listen and ask yourself whether or not there is a repeated theme going on over and over again in this passage. And then I'd like to read a question that relates to it. See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God. And so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when He appears, we shall be like Him, because we shall see Him as He is. And everyone who thus hopes in Him purifies himself as He is pure. And then John goes on to say this: everyone who makes a practice of sinning also practices lawlessness. Sin is lawlessness. You know that He appeared to take away sins, and in Him there is no sin. No one who abides in Him keeps on sinning. No one who keeps on sinning has either seen Him or known Him. Little children, let no one deceive you. Whoever practices righteousness is righteous, as He is righteous. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. No one born of God makes a practice of sinning, for God's seeds abide in him, and he cannot practice sinning because he has been born of God. And it is evident, or by this it is evident, who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother. Did you catch that theme, that repeated theme over and over again? Whoever practices sinning is not of God. I'm so glad he uses that word, practices sin, because we all sin. And if every time we sinned, there was some sort of disclaimer over us by the Spirit of God, that's not my child, we'd all be in trouble now, wouldn't we? Well, this verse and this theme, this passage comes to life in this question. Listen, I'm 44 years old and I am the widow of a pastor. He passed when I was only 35. I became a single mom instantly. I spent the first 3 years healing. Then I thought that God would bring me a spouse. I wasted nearly 5 years waiting. I wish I had not waited and hoped for a husband. When I see how wayward the men of God have become, I no longer wanted one. You would not believe how many godly men did not, and she puts godly in quotes, how many godly men did not believe in the sinfulness of sex before marriage. It's terrible. When the only difference between a worldly man and a Christian man is one who shows up for church, that's when you know it's all a farce. After much heartbreak and reality, I realized not only did I waste my time in waiting and praying, but many years of broken dreams resulted. Finally, I let it go and had more than one night crying, but I began to heal. Sometimes it's best to let go, have those feelings of anger, disappointment, honesty with God, and begin the healing process and move on. Well, there's certain things in this particular question or comment that are troublesome to me. First of all, to equate a Christian man and a non-Christian man over the issue of whether or not a Christian man stumbles with his own moral sexuality or immoral sexuality is really unfair, because most people struggle with moral temptation. Most people struggle with the issues of sexuality, married and unmarried, men and women, those who go to church, those who do not go to church. And the passage from John says this, it's the sinfulness, the true sinfulness, or the true revelation of a person's relationship to Christ comes in whether or not they make a practice of sinning. That's the repeated theme there. Those who practice immorality, those who practice sex before marriage, those who make a promise to themselves that they can't contain or restrain themselves. But everyone falls. Everyone falls short of the glory of God. And to judge a person by how they fall or how they're tempted or how they want to throw away the moral compass with which the scriptures guide us, that's when it becomes somewhat judgmental on this person's part. Now, I'm glad she kept herself pure. It sounds as though she would not bend on that issue, because that same writer, John, also contends that we are to let no corrupt communication come out of our lifestyle, whether it be speech or sexuality, that we are not even to allow a hint of coarseness to enter our lives. Well, that's just not possible to do all the time for every single one of us. There will come times when we all fall short of the glory of God. You know, Christian men sometimes are more followers than they are leaders. Christian men sometimes in the church want to take a back seat because they think it's something their wives or their girlfriends want to do. But not all men are that way. Many men, although they struggle with sexual temptation, are committed to the scriptures and are committed to purity and are committed to living their lives in the church and outside the church with consistency. I know it's been difficult for you. Sounds like it's been over 9 years when you were able to have a marital relationship with the man you loved. And for God's purposes and in God's reasoning, he took that man and you became a single mom. And I want to encourage you to stay the course. But it sounds to me like you're staying the course with a little bit of bitterness. And bitterness defiles. Bitterness forms a root. And that root travels underground in your soul, in your psyche. And eventually it will shape every aspect of your life. And that bitterness will corrupt you. That bitterness will defile you. And you will lose the joy of your salvation. Not your salvation. You'll lose the joy that comes with your salvation. God has a plan for you. Now, that's a cliche we Christians use all the time, but it's a cliche that's true. God has a plan and God has a purpose for you. And that plan and that purpose may not be fully known in this life, but in the next life, in the life to come, when God takes you on a travel log through all that he has done in your life, he will show you, he will reveal to you the purpose behind all of those tragedies that have taken place in your life. But for now, you need to trust him. You need to say to him, Lord, you are my refuge and you are my strength. You need to claim Psalm 62 for yourself. Read Psalm 62. Let it roll around in your psyche, in your spirit, and test God at this point to see whether or not he will not truly reveal to you who you are in him. Your identity is found in him, and he will indeed show you that he is your refuge and he is your strength. At the same time, do not cast a judgment over all men in the church, but ask yourself and ask the Lord to open your heart to a man who will trust Christ as his Savior, who believes in the gospel message, and with every ounce of his own effort, he tries to live that out, but by the grace of God, God will sustain him and encourage him to walk by faith. Look for that man. He's there, and you need to trust that God is going to show that man to you, but he'll do so only in his time. I hope this helps.